guys, Alex from Board Game Co over here, and today we're doing another episode of Should You Play It? Should You Play It is a segment brought to you in association with Board Online, Board Offline, where we pick a game. In this episode it's going to be Bruges, and we give you 5 reasons why you might want to play it, as well as 5 reasons why it might not be a good game for you and your group. And first we're going to start with a quick overview of the game. In Bruges, what we have here, this game, well, let's start with the fact that it's by Stefan Feld, the master of point salad games, and I mean that as both a pro and a con. I generally like a lot of his games. They range from I love them to I like them, and Bruges, we'll get into where that falls later, but Bruges is a game where every round you're going to be picking cards. You're going to be picking different cards every single round, and then utilizing those cards for one of 5 different reasons. What you're going to do is you're either going to play a card to take workers, you're going to play a card to put a house down where you can put other cards in, you're going to play a card to get money equal to the dice rolled that round, you're going to play a card to get rid of disasters, or you're going to play a card to actually get the actual benefit of the card itself and the ability on it. Basically, you're picking up cards every single round, you're going to draw up till you have a hand of 5, then you're going to play 4 of them, rinse and repeat again and again until you run out of cards. The entire sequencing is about how you do it, how you play these out. You're going to start with, one set of cards in your hands, you're going to have a whole strategy you want to try to rely on and ways you're going to try to win the game. But as the game progresses, as you draw more cards, you're going to be forced to adapt to your situation. Do you want to stick with the strategy that you thought would work for you at the beginning? Do you want to pivot and see if you can kind of salvage a win? It's an interesting game that relies on the ability to pivot quickly, to pivot frequently, to have a good idea of what cards are in the deck, and that'll come over multiple plays, to have a good idea of the ways you're going to be screwed, the ways you can screw other players. It is all about what you do with the cards, when you play those cards, when you hold them. You don't actually fold them, but when you play them, when you hold them, all that. So let's cover the reasons why you might like it. Starting off with reason number 1 is if you like abilities in general. Now, if you've watched my videos, I love abilities. I talk about this all the time. Anytime a game has different things you can do that break the rules, that are powers, that give you some way of feeling like you have a competitive advantage that others don't, or if it's a cooperative game, a competitive advantage against the game itself. I just like abilities and powers, and in Bruges, every single round you are drawing more and more cards that will give you abilities and powers. So each round you're drawing usually at a minimum of 4 cards, sometimes more, sometimes less, but usually 4 or more cards that give you some way of breaking the game, whether they're victory points, whether they're in-game bonuses, whether they're activated bonuses. They just give you ways of destroying the framework the game sets up in a way that lets you feel powerful. Reason number 2, and this goes kind of hand in hand with reason number 1, is tableau building. If you like tableau building in games, Bruges will very much give you that experience. And that goes hand in hand with 1, because remember all those powers I mentioned? Well, some of them are going to be one-time use powers. Get a few coins, put a thing down here, destroy other people's canal tokens, steal a card from other players. But many of those cards will be continuous use abilities. Abilities that you either have to pay to use, or you can just use it just because. Whenever you cash in a blue card to get money, you can get 3 extra money. As the game progresses, you start off with no real tableau, but by the time you hit the 4th round, the 5th round, you have 5 or 6 abilities that other players don't, that are frequently letting you break the rules, letting you win in the ways others don't. So it has both abilities and powers and whatnot, as well as that tableau building aspect. Reason number 3 I like it is, or why you might like it, is if you like non-linear paths to victories. I love a lot of Stefan Feld's game, a lot of them, but sometimes they fall into a bit of a staticness of different ways you can get to the way you win. And pick any other game as well, not Stefan Feld only, but other games. Very often, they fall into these pathways of, well, you need to get wood, and then you need to get this, and you need to trade it in for lead. Especially Euro games in particular tend to be vulnerable to this aspect. The Euro games tend to be vulnerable to the idea that as you do more and more things, as you're trying to win, you have to follow certain paths if you want to have a reasonable chance of winning. And in Bruges, nothing could be further from the truth. I have played this game dozens of times, and every single time you play it, there's a little bit of a pivot or a twist on something you could do. There are certainly main paths, there are certainly different main configurations of how to win. Do you go for majorities? Are you trying to score canal bonuses? Are you trying to get endgame points through endgame cards? But each of these main pathways, first of all, there are a decent amount of them, and secondly is each of them have millions of subtle variations of how you actually get there, because of the fact that every round you're drawing cards and you have to pivot your strategy every single time. So I love the non-linear pathway aspect to Bruges. If you are worried about Euro games that feel stale as you play them, this is not going to be one of them. Reason number 4 is modular expansion. This game has a modular expansion. It's called On the Zwin, I think, the City on the Zwin, but Bruges City on the Zwin is a game that has a modular expansion that lets you plug and play Bruges in different ways that really do add to the game pretty decently. There's a stock expansion that changes the game in a way that I can't tell you about because I haven't actually played with it yet. But there are ships that really pivot and change the game. It adds a 5th player. It mixes up the game, and personally, I won't play without the ship expansion at all ever anymore. I see no reason not to, except maybe teaching people the first time, but even then I think it blends seamlessly into the game. It has a great level of extra content in the game that is very easy to plug and play to slowly adapt your experience as you find yourself tiring or getting bored of the same things. And I can't imagine tiring and getting bored because it's so many different card abilities and things going on in this game. Finally, reason number 5, and this is a big one for 2 reasons, and we'll get into the second reason soon, but the first reason why it's a big one is this game is playable on Yucata. Now, that yucata.ee, yucate.de, it's a game you can play websites online, and right now we are still kind of just barely talking about the idea of easing social things. I'm not having a game group. I don't know if you're having a game group or not, but for me, all my gaming has basically been with my family or online. So Yucata Bruges is a game that you can play online, which makes it a great choice, a great game to be exposed to right now. You can give it a shot. And the second reason why that's a pro leads us into our cons. 5 reasons why you may not like this game. Reason number 1 is it is out of print and expensive right now. Bruges has gone in and out of print periodically. Right now, this is a game that should probably be $30 or so, but it's going for like 60 plus. And that is because it's a hard to get game, people like it, and it's out of print. Which brings us back to the pro aspect. You can play it online. If you're unsure if you're going to like this, if you're unsure about putting down that much money on a game that is basically twice the price it normally would be, well, at least you can find out whether it's a game you like because you can play it on Yucata. Now, cycling back, I've never really done this back and forth between the pros and the cons. They don't really rubber band like that. Reason number 2 why it might not be a game for you is the game has a lot of screwage. Now, to remember that is the game, and this can be reasons 2 and 3. So reason 2 is the game has a lot of screwage where the game itself is constantly giving you these disaster tokens. It's giving you these tokens that will basically mess you up. And once you get a certain amount of these tokens, you're going to lose something. You might lose points, you might lose all your workers, you might lose all your money. There are different things you can lose, but every round there's a chance of getting disaster tokens, and as they accumulate, you will suffer disasters. If you don't like games that try to punish you as they're playing them, this might be a problem for you. Now, I will note for the record, I tend to not like games that punish you for playing them. I tend not to appreciate the challenge when I feel like the challenge is me constantly trying to rise up from whatever you're forcing upon me. In Bruges, it's not terrible. It does exist. It's something to be conscious of if you don't like that, but it's not terrible, but it's definitely there. Reason number 3 is player screwage. Again, same idea. It's not terrible. I've seen far worse, but there's also games with far less. If you hate the idea of your perfect plan being messed up because someone chose that moment to steal a card from your hand, this will not be the game for you. This game definitely does have a decent amount of screwage. If you've played Terraforming Mars, I would say it's a level above Terraforming Mars. It's not in your face constantly all the time. It's definitely not to that level, but it does exist. It is present. It is a thing that your plans will be messed up. Your perfect sequencing will be destroyed. Someone will steal money from you. Someone will steal your workers. Someone will steal one of the guys you just spent 9 money putting down into a house. It will happen in this game. If you're not comfortable with that, this might not be a game for you and your group. Reason number 4 is long-term planning. If you can't stand the fact that you can't make a plan that will last throughout the whole game, this is not a game for you at all. If you want a set of clear criteria, and obviously there'll be some adjustments, but this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, this is not the game for you. In Bruges, every single round you are drawing new cards that will totally require you to constantly adjust and pivot to how you think you have a reasonable opportunity to win. This is not a game for people who don't like that aspect of playing a game. This is not a game when you don't want to sit there and plan a certain pathway. I'm going to play this card type and this card type, and I'll get points at the end of the game. Because guess what? On round 3, you got these 3 cards, and someone else stole that card, and you will have to constantly pivot and adjust to the constant game-changing circumstances of this game. It's a bit larger amount of pivoting than I would say in most Euro games that I play. So definitely something to be wary of. And finally, reason number 5, and this ties into 4, is that Specifically because of that game-changing aspect, this game is very AP prone. AP is analysis paralysis. That's the idea that a player will sit there and be focusing so hard on what do I do next that they get paralyzed by the analysis aspect. They are thinking for so long and they don't have a move. This is a game that can be very AP prone as you and your other players struggle to adapt and adjust to both the cards you're drawing, what other players are doing, how they're doing it. Do you want to go for this plan now that person just did this? It has a lot of that, and that is a reason why you might be worried of. So just to cover those in brief again, starting off with the pros, we have player powers, love those. We have tableau building, lots of the feeling of getting more powerful as the game grows. It's a non-linear path to victory. Every game is different. Its modular expansion gives you a lot of opportunities to mix up the game in different ways that are both easier and harder to understand. And finally, it's playable on Yukata, which is a pro for a few reasons. In terms of the cons, out of print and expensive. The screwage in the game is coming at you both from the game a little bit as well as the players themselves. The long-term planning is just not there. Lots of adapting, lots of pivoting, but no singular strategy you're going to walk in at the beginning and it's going to last you till the end. And finally, it's AP prone. As far as how do I feel about Bruges, I love Bruges. And I say this as someone who has traded the game away twice and gotten it back, but where I am right now in my gaming journey, I am thoroughly enjoying Bruges. It has definitely been one of my most played games in quarantine in terms of playing it online, playing on Yukata, and because of that, that's one of the reasons I got it back. I've played it a few times over the years and occasionally gotten rid of it, but the more I play it, the more I enjoy it. It is very quickly becoming a rival to me for Castles of Burgundy, which is currently my favorite Stefan Feld game. So if you like Castles of Burgundy, if you like Stefan Feld in general, if you like any of the things I said about all these player powers and abilities, or if it sounds like a game that might be for you, I highly recommend giving Bruges a shot. Like I said, you can play it on Yukata, which is it's an easy way to give it a shot. Pick a few friends, hop on a Zoom call, hop on Yukata, and play it live. Yukata's turn by turn, but you can play it live as you just sit on the Zoom call and play together. It's a very easy way to get into a game, and right now, with quarantine and everything, I'm sure we can all use games more than ever. Find some friends, hop online, and give Bruges a shot. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's brought to you by both Board Game Co. as well as Board Online, Board Offline. If you like more of these videos, you can check them out on the channel below. If you like more of Board Online, Board Offline's content, the playthroughs, the top 10 lists, or whatever lists, give it a shot, check it out. Until next time, I'm Alex, and have a good one.